In Parshas Vaera, Hashem tells Moshe that Paro is digging in his heels. He's not going to let the Bnei Yisrael go so easily. He's not going to let the Jewish people out of enslavement of Mitzrayim very easily. And the more plagues that Hashem brings upon the Mitzrayim, upon the Egyptians, and upon Paro, the more stubborn Paro is going to become. And the way in which Hashem described this to Moshe is that he said, Kaved Lev Paro. The heart of Paro is hard. And that word kaved jumps out at us. What does it mean? So in simple Hebrew, kaved means heavy. Paro's heart was heavy. When a person has a heavy heart, that means that they're full, their mind is full, their emotions are full, that they're not able to do certain things. Here, kaved also has a secondary meaning. And that is, the Chassam Sofer explains that kaved, as we know it, means liver. Well, what's the connection between kaved, a liver, and kaved, being heavy, in description of Paro's heart? So he explains as follows. When we cook a piece of meat, the longer that we cook the meat, the more tender the meat becomes, the softer the meat becomes. If I slow cook a piece of meat for a number of hours, every hour that goes by, and I stick a fork in the piece of meat, every hour the meat becomes softer. However, when I cook liver, the more I cook the liver, the harder the liver becomes. And the same is true, the Chassam Sofer says, of eggs. And that's why he explains that we eat egg at the Seder. The egg and the nature of the egg is the same as the liver, and is also a description of the hardness of Paro's heart. When we cook an egg, just for a couple of moments, an egg starts to become a little bit harder, and we have a soft-boiled egg. You cook a little longer and it becomes a hard-boiled egg. And the longer you cook it, the more firm the egg becomes. And so the connection between the kaved, the liver, and an egg, and the nature, the way that in which they are cooked, is directly related to Paro and the hardness of his heart. The fact that his heart was so hard that the more Hashem brought upon him, the more pain, the more makos, the more plagues he brought upon the Egyptian people, it only made Paro angrier, and it only made his heart harder, and it only made the situation for the Jewish people in Mitzrayim more difficult, until ultimately Hashem showed him that whatever it would take, he was going to get Bnei Yisrael out of Mitzrayim. I think this concept of the hardness of Paro's heart and the idea of the kaved, the liver, the eggs, also relate to us. And sometimes we have conversations with people that may be very difficult conversations. And the more someone talks to us about something, there are two possibilities. It might be either we become softer, or we may become more upset. We may become more on edge. And instead of trying to solve the problem, trying to make amends, trying to move forward, we dig in our heels and we have a harsher attitude, which ultimately doesn't bode well for the other person or for ourselves. The lesson that we learn from Paro, the lesson that we learn from the kaved, from the liver, the lesson that we learn from the egg, is that we are to be people who are soft-hearted, that we don't become harsh when it comes to other individuals, when it comes to other people, that we allow our heart to lead us, and that we have a sense of tolerance toward other people, a sense of understanding toward others, and that we, therefore, have the ability to become better people while learning from the mistakes of the Rasha that was Paro. Thank you for listening, and have a good Shabbat.